Hello and welcome back to the Beyond Enough podcast. I am back with you all today with the most incredible guest, Kierian, who is going to tell you all about herself and what she's up to in her corner of the internet and off of the internet. As you know, we come here, we share the most incredible stories of women in business doing things their own way and carving out their path to more, to their version of Beyond Enough. So, welcome, Kierian.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here and to share my story. And I hope that it resonates with your listeners and that they can take something away from it and feel inspired, hopefully.
I know they will. I absolutely know they will. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Kierian because we connected after we went to an event last year. And since then, we've kept in touch, and I've managed to convince her to come in and share some of her stories because she has the most fascinating journey into entrepreneurship. And I honestly think everyone will just gain so much from this. So thank you for being here. I would love you first to introduce yourself a little bit and yeah, give us a little insight into what being in your world and brand cult's world is like.
Okay, so where do I start? Well, I guess I have to rewind before my entrepreneurial journey started, and that's important because a lot of what you go through in your life is really to prepare you for that journey of entrepreneurship. So I actually grew up in foster care and I was put in foster care at 8 and I grew up in foster care as this kind of bullied, unloved child, never to amount to anything. And I went on in life thinking that of myself. That was my belief about my self-worth. But then I ended up having my daughter at 19, totally by accident. I was on contraceptive. It wasn't until 6 months in until they actually found out that I was pregnant. They had done a ton of pregnancy tests and everything, and they were like, no, no, it must not be that. It must be like a stomach ulcer. It must be this. And eventually they did blood work, and they're like, oh yeah, you're pregnant 6 months in. So yeah, that was a surprise. And I was 19 at the time, so that
Gosh.
was a massive change in my life. But then I guess the next big change came at the age of around 26. I flew to New York on a solo trip and I was walking through Times Square when I saw a massive crowd of people, as you do, and you're just like wondering what the hell's happening over there. So I sort of pushed my way to the front with my camera ready, and it turns out that it was a car bomb. Someone had put a bomb in a car in Times Square, and the FBI were actually securing the area. And what happened next was I got talking to one of the FBI agents, and he gave me his number, and we ended up going out on a date. And then so on that same exact trip, I don't know if you remember this. This was around 2011, I think it was. And basically, a volcano erupted in Iceland, and all the flights were grounded. Air Force One got grounded, and I went from a 1 week holiday into New York to a 4 week holiday in New York because I think my flight got cancelled. So then I ended up having all this time to spend with this new guy. And I'll fast forward a little bit. So basically, he visited me in Scotland. I went back to visit him in New York. He proposed in front of the Rockefeller Center. I went to Kleinfeld to get my wedding dress, and they're the people who do say yes to the dress. And of course, they hear the accent and then they hear the love story behind it all, the whirlwind romance, and they're like, do you want to be on the show? But I didn't go on the show because, as an FBI agent, he wasn't allowed to have his
Oh, of
face on
course.
national television. So
Devastating. No.
my claim to fame's gone. But actually, it was funny because we did end up going on 2 episodes of Jerry Springer, but not as a guest, just in the audience. He
Just
was
in the
allowed to be in
audience.
the audience because they didn't like pan in on him or anything. Yeah, so that was interesting. But yeah, so then it was funny. This was now 2012, and it was maybe 3 days before my wedding. I had people flying in from Scotland, all over the world actually. And then Hurricane Sandy hit New York, one of the biggest, most destructive storms in their history of New York. I lived on Staten Island, so it was right near the water. It's an island. And so there was like yachts on top of houses by the end of it. Everything was completely destroyed. People were delayed getting in because of flights. I mean, to be honest, I should have seen all the red flags. the volcano eruption, the hurricane, like God was trying to send me a message. And even the venue, they were like, oh, it says in your contract an act of God can cancel the termination of the wedding plans. Thankfully, well, not thankfully, but they let us have the wedding, even though they had staff. They were sleeping in the venue. The cake maker didn't have electricity to make the cake, so the cake was made out of polystyrene. But I didn't get any discounts or refunds on anything. And then, yeah, the flowers weren't delivered. Nothing was washed, like the seat cover. Anyway, it was a bit of a nightmare. But we got married. And then 6 months later, he tells me, I just want to be friends. I don't want to be together anymore after so much thousands of pounds and money went into visas and the wedding was at least $50,000. Like craziness. No excuse. Just I don't think we should be together anymore. And I also had remember when I was 19, I had that daughter. Well, I still got her. And she's now calling him daddy, calling his family grandma, grandpa. So I was like, okay, well, I couldn't offer any solution to him that he was willing to take. He didn't want to get counseling. He didn't want to talk about it. He just said, no, we're not right for each other. And I was like, well, the one thing you've got to do is tell her because she calls you daddy. You came up with that agreement. I never asked you to do that. And he was like, no, I don't want to. So then he just left. And my daughter was so traumatized. She was, I'd get calls from her school saying that she was in the toilets crying. And when they ask her what's wrong, she says, I don't know, I'm just really sad.
Oh my.
And it was horrible. And she started sleepwalking. She'd get up during the night, tried to leave the house during the night. And it was really, really bad. She was only about 8 or 9. And then, so anyway, we tried to do the whole American dream. We tried to live by ourselves. But I mean, as you can imagine, New York City, so expensive. I was working as a psychiatric nurse, which I loved, but didn't pay as much as it could have. And so then I was at nighttime, I'd leave my daughter home alone. I'd stick on a Zoom call with like a friend of or family member to keep her company so I could go off to Applebee's and work as a waitress at nighttime after my full-time job. And at the weekend, in the morning, I was teaching soccer. And so I'd bring her along to the classes. I was teaching cooking lessons online. I had online storefronts, basically just trying to make as much money as I can to survive. And then you'll never believe what happened. You want to know what happened?
Yeah.
I won the lottery.
What?
Yeah.
Not expected in that story.
So like I don't even play the lottery. That's the funny thing. I don't even play the lottery. So what happened was I can't even remember. It was something like at her school, I won something, maybe in a raffle. I won something and I took it into the newsagents and it was for a scratch card. I think I'd won a scratch card. So I scratched it off and then the scratch card won me the lucky dip. So I exchanged it for a lucky dip, just told them, give me whatever numbers. It was called Take Four. So it was four numbers. And then yeah, it wasn't like jackpot, but it was enough to pay off any debt that I had, buy a new car, take my daughter shopping and buy her first Michael Kors bag. Like yeah, it was great. And so I had a friend in New York who had just moved to Hong Kong with her boyfriend. And she actually said to me, do you want to come visit Hong Kong for Christmas? You don't have your husband, you don't have any friends or family. My ex was super paranoid. Being in the FBI, he never allowed me to have any friends. So I didn't build a support network in New York. And I got close to his family, but then he took his family away from me.
Yeah.
And as someone who grew up in foster care, like that's what I love. That's actually what I loved about that relationship was having his family, being part of something. So he took that all away. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll come to Hong Kong. I've got this bit of money and we'll come and visit for a month over Christmas and New Year. And I took my daughter and we just absolutely fell in love with the city. It was amazing. It was just felt so fresh and new. And then my friend said to me, you've got a degree in English literature. You could probably get a job here as a teacher. It's so easy. And I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I went back to New York, packed up all my stuff. I had thousands of dollars worth of wedding gifts, like the red candy apple KitchenAid and all this stuff. And I had to sell my car, sell everything, sell my whole entire life. I packed up 6 suitcases. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can see there's a post there with a picture of a line of my suitcases. And I managed to get a visa, a job, and a house right under my friend. She lived in a sort of three-block village apartment, it's called. Yeah, I moved in at the bottom floor of her apartment building and got a job and got a visa. Got my daughter, went to school with her daughter. And so it was perfect. And that's really where my entrepreneurial journey started because I didn't find the American dream, but the Hong Kong dream really was there. Education is so important in Hong Kong. They value it so much that they're willing to pay through the teeth for their children to get such a good education. So I was learning how to be a teacher, but then straight away I had parents saying, would you tutor my kid after school? Would you do this? So I started tutoring after my 9 to 5 kind of school job. And then I referred word of mouth, and parents were saying, oh, I've got a tutor, oh, I've got a tutor, I'll give you my tutor's contact details. And then so then it turned out like after school, every day I had more tutoring and more tutoring. And then it filled up my weekends, more tutoring, more tutoring. And then I was like, I don't have any more space. What am I going to do with all these referrals? So then I started hiring teachers, kind of hiring, but like basically matchmaking, and I say like, oh, I have this teacher, I can match them with this student and then take a cut of the lesson price. That way they don't have to negotiate, okay, I want this much pay. I'll do all the middleman stuff. And that's how I organically, out of nowhere, started my education company in Hong Kong. And I built that to 6 figures within about 6 months. And yeah, I was able to buy myself a Tesla and just living the life. It was amazing. And then COVID happened. Then COVID happened to all of us. And then so happily just working away. I was actually in the process of applying for like an entrepreneurship visa in Hong Kong so that I could quit the teaching job in the school and go 100% in on the company. But then my daughter, who was now at teenage years, she had decided, because the thing is with Hong Kong, they are smart and they are Asian smart. And my daughter is not Asian smart. She's smart, but she's not Asian smart. And so every year she'd go back to Scotland to visit her family. And I'd make sure she'd get a tutor while she was on holidays, summer holidays, to keep on top of her education. And the math tutor that she had said that she was 2 years ahead of the students in the UK. And Brooke, my daughter, loved hearing that. She was like, I'm the smartest kid in my class. I'm so smart. So, but then when she went back to Hong Kong, she went right back down at the bottom of the class. So she said, Mum, I don't think I could do education in Hong Kong anymore. Can I go back to the UK and do my GCSEs? So we tried to work that out, but she tried about 6 months on her own, and then lockdown happened. And then she had to lock down with my brother. And that just wasn't a good place for a child to be. So she said, Mum, will you please come back and do this with me? And so I dropped everything in Hong Kong. Well, I kept, the company was still going, but it wasn't, wasn't able to build it if I wasn't there. So I came back to the UK, to London, and I was working on my company 2, 3 days a week. And then I had a couple of days spare to go and substitute teach here in London. And then realized after a couple of months, I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. I was questioning all my life purpose because I thought I'm such a good teacher. Teaching's my thing for the rest of my life. Until these London kids, and I was just traumatized, breaking up fights, just feeling like a babysitter most of the time. And so I was reading a book called Ikigai. Have you heard of
Oh yeah,
Ikigai?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Ikigai is a Japanese philosophy of life's purpose, finding life's purpose. And it's really logical, which I love. He uses a Venn diagram of like 4 different circles. And in each circle's a question. For example, what do I love to do? What does the world need? What can I make money for? And I always forget the fourth one.
I forget it
Uh,
too.
is it like what am I good at, I think? And
What?
where they all overlap is your life's purpose. And at the time, I still had teachers in Hong Kong coming to me saying, can you give me students and whatnot? And I said, no, I'm not growing the business anymore. But I can make you a flyer and you can hand it out and see if you can get your own students. And when I made them this flyer, they said to me, oh my God, you're like really good at this like graphic design stuff. Like, what's that all about? And I'm like, you know what? I love graphic design. I've been on Canva designing all of our educational resources, worksheets, PowerPoints for teaching lessons. I'm like, I've been doing this for a really long time, even my social media and my website for the first business. And I'm like, this is actually, wait, this is what I love to do. This is what I can be paid for. This is what the world needs. I was like, this is my life's purpose. But there's a problem. There's a problem with finding your life's purpose at the age of 36 or 37. It's that even though I educated myself, I got all my Adobe certifications in graphic design, self-taught, poured my heart and soul into it, there was nowhere in London that would hire a 37-year-old intern. And there was nowhere that would even hire a 37-year-old junior graphic designer because I had no experience, hadn't worked with clients, didn't have a portfolio. And I'm like, how does anybody pivot in life? Like, we're not all meant to do the same thing forever. Like, I want something different. And so that was really difficult. But there was one thing that I knew I could do best, and that's set up my business and work for myself. So that's what I did. I set up my design agency, House of Cult Brands. And I was like, I'm going to go out there and find my own clients. And that's what I did. I started networking for the first time. And I really loved it. I love talking, as you can tell. I haven't even let you get a word in, but I love to talk. And yeah, just went out and connected with loads of people, built up my network. And then I realized at that moment that no matter how many people I meet, I'm actually never going to be able to help all of them with their designing and their branding needs. So I'm still got that teacher in me, and I wanted to teach them how to do branding and design for themselves. And I was like, how can I pass that information on to them? And I thought about Substacks and online communities, websites, social media, that sort of stuff. And I was like, you know what? That's not what I would want. I want to, and at the time I was actually looking for a publication that I could learn about more branding design. Like I said, I immerse myself in something that I love. I've got ADHD, so usually I've got quite a lot of passions that I immerse myself in, and I've got the roller skates under my bed to prove it. Yeah, so I was looking for a publication, and most of them were in the US. They were like branding and design magazines and stuff, and I didn't want to have to ship it. So I saw it all sort of aligned again, just like my ikigai and the graphic design. I realized that that gap in the market needs to be filled, and I was the one to do it. So I came up with this idea. I said to myself, I want to help them build a cult brand, a brand that lasts, a brand that's got legacy. And that's where I came up with Brand Cult, which is my newspaper that I've been running for the last 8 months. It's the UK's first award-winning print-only business newspaper for entrepreneurs and founders, which originally it was actually just for design and branding. That was what my niche, I guess. But then I realized that a lot of founders, they want the whole holistic view. They want to know about the finance, they want to know about content creation, they want to know about everything. So now it's just a business newspaper, and each month we do a different topic, different issue. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That brings you to date.
Brings us up to date. I'm obsessed with your backstory. Like, I am so lucky because I have this podcast and I get to hear so many incredible stories. Your stories, I mean, talk about being an expert at pivoting.
That's a super squiggly career. That's what I say to people. Like,
Yes.
that is squiggly.
And I love that because, do you know, there's so many of us, and the more women I speak to, actually, the more I realize so many of us have had this squiggly career, pivoting between different things, and then also being a really young mum, right?
Hmm.
And then going on to think, right, I've found the love of my life. We're getting
Hmm.
married. It's great. For it not to be great at all, right?
Yeah.
Moving to the other side of the world,
Yeah.
teaching, and then again, like you say, at at the point where you're in your late 30s going, okay, I'm going to pivot. I've done the training, but how do I actually then find employment for this thing that I am really good at?
Mm.
There is no entry point. I think
Yeah.
your story beautifully demonstrates how entrepreneurship can be that thing.
Yeah, definitely. If you haven't found it yet, it probably is because you haven't considered doing it yourself yet. But I mean, the whole point of coming on these podcasts and sharing my story is to help inspire other people. And I always love hearing that people find my story inspiring because it hasn't been easy, and I've made lots of mistakes along the way. I mean, I've had, that's just, to be honest, that's just the tip of the iceberg, what I told you. There's so much more to my backstory. Like I grew up in foster care, like I mentioned, but I was actually sexually abused in foster care. And so like there's so much more.
Mm.
And then like I said, when you're told that you're not worth anything, like to get past that and stop being working out of the victim mentality, and doing, yeah, just what makes you passionate and knowing that you can do it and your self-worth is really important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so many of us struggle with that. And I commend you for sharing that with us because that's truly, truly brave. And I know it's something that still, I think we don't talk about enough, right? And to have a background where literally everything has been against you and still being able to have such an incredible journey through life, where, like you say, you've really found your worth and went, no, I am actually valuable. And I'm going to show people
Hmm.
that I'm valuable.
Yeah. I actually I'm reading a book right now and it's really, really good. It's I don't know if I say his name right, Alex Bananian. It's called The Third Door. And I absolutely really love this metaphor. I'm going to explain it to you, and I've now adapted it into my own sort of framework to help others. But this third door concept is basically we've all been in the situation where we're waiting to get into a restaurant or a nightclub, and we're all standing at that first door. The bouncers are there, they're letting in whoever they want, but you're waiting and you're waiting, you're standing in that line, same as everyone else, not doing anything different from them, but just waiting to get in. And then we know secretly that there's a second door, right? That's for the VIPs. That's for the influencers, the people with connections, people with money. They go in the second door. And then, but what people don't realize, because they're just standing in the first door, they're just waiting for things to happen, that there's a third door. There's a third door, and it actually might not even be a third door. It might be a window, or it might be a kitchen entrance, or it might be something else. But that third door is basically you're in and you're into success. And it's all about having a different way of thinking out of the box to try and get into that building, into the club, into the restaurant, using a different method. And that's what I'm now developing into my own framework to teach others how to do this other out of the box thinking, like how I've went throughout life, taking risks, like you said, moving to New York, moving to Hong Kong. These were all risks that I took. It could have went terribly wrong, but I took those risks, and I thought, after New York, I could have just went home back to Scotland, got a job, and done the safe thing. But I took the risk. I took that third door, and then found my entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, no, I love that. And do you know what? I honestly do think that is something that all of us need to develop. And I think that is really truly the spirit of entrepreneurship. It's finding a different way of doing things and then delusionally keeping going, even though all the evidence around you is like telling you the opposite. It's like that. No, no, I will find a way, and then just trust in yourself through the messy process.
And that's what I like to include in my issues of brand cult. I like to include the other side of the coin. So even here's an example for you, but it's a super simple example. Where do they tell the experts and the gurus, the social media gurus, where do they tell you to put a call to action? Like in your post, you've
Um,
made a post online. Where would you put your call to action? Where
I'm
does
trying to think
everybody?
where because I'm like I don't listen to like anyone else's advice. I just do my own thing. So maybe at the end? Do they say to do it
At
at the
the
end?
end, right? Yeah,
Okay,
most
right.
people say put your call to action at the end of your
Okay.
post. Tell your person where to go, what to visit, that sort of thing. But actually, what that does is someone is reading your post. Maybe you've added a bit of personal stuff in there and you're like, listen, that happened to me, that blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and now call to action, please go buy my product. That person got emotionally invested in your story and they've read it to the end, and all of a sudden they feel betrayed because they thought, that you were just sharing, and then all of a sudden they feel betrayed because now you're selling to them. So like the call to action should be at the start and be like, hey, I want to talk about my product because of X, Y, and Z, and this and that, and this and that. But my point is, by sharing this story, is that like not everything you see or read or hear
Yes.
online is the advice that you should be following. So take it with a pinch of salt. Just because you see someone else has got 50% off their product doesn't mean that that works for you or any of advice online works for you.
Yeah, I love that, Kierian. And you can tell us your opinion on what I'm about to share. But, so much I think of what my work with women is like really deconditioning them and allowing them to step back from all of the advice that they are getting constantly fed through social media. And before we came on this call, actually, we were talking a lot about how we were conditioned when we were young women through other forms of media as well, but certainly social media at the minute is the thing that is taking up a lot of people's time, and it's also the thing that's shoving an awful lot of information down everybody's throats. But your story demonstrates this beautifully, and this is something I really try and help my clients develop, and that's self-leadership. And it is really
Yeah.
actually making choices for yourself and thinking for yourself rather than taking someone else's word for it because they've got more Instagram followers than you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just building the confidence. I feel like a lot of people they don't take that self-leadership because they don't have the confidence. They
Yeah.
don't have the confidence in their ability or, yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah, it's again, like you were saying, it's taking that less walked path, taking the bumpy path
Hmm.
and going, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here. And that is scary, right? Like when you were moving, and also you've got this little gorgeous Brook with you,
Yeah.
like it's not even just you, right? Like you've got your daughter too. What got you through those, find my words, what got you through those moments? Like what enabled you to say, okay, I know this is a bit risky, but I'm going to do it anyway?
Well, everybody always like if I share my story, everyone's like, "Oh, you've done so well. You do so well. Yeah, everything is so good." And then I always look back and I don't feel proud of my life. I don't feel proud of what I've done. And it's mostly because I feel like I did all of these things through survival, through
Yes.
necessity. Like, for example, New York, I couldn't live in New York any longer in the situation that I was in, working 5 jobs just to get by. And it was by necessity and survival that I had to put myself in a new position. So, yeah, I guess my survival instincts always sort of kick in on time and get me through the next chapter and just balls. Just have the balls, just do the thing. Like, it kind of annoys me, it irks me a little bit when people say, oh, yeah, I'll get round to traveling when the kids are big. When the kids have grown up, I'll do that thing that I've been putting off for all these years. And that really annoys me because I know that you can travel around the world with a child and then not have any money. I mean, I was 19 when I had my daughter, I had no money. And I had no money, in New York, and I still managed to move. Well, I won the lottery, that helped.
First provides, my girl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want it bad enough, it really does. Definitely survival got me through.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I think sometimes we have, again, just as women, I think especially, it's so drummed into us what life should look like and what it should feel like and what's a good life and what's not. When in actual
Yeah.
fact, all you've got left when you go is your stories, right? And like how people felt you and experienced you. And I think, as you say, you've went from a really difficult start in life, brought in this gorgeous girl at such a young age, and then continued to have stories to tell, right? And even it might have been messy and it might have been not the traditional path, right? You took the squiggly career and it might get squiggly
Mhm.
from here on out. And I tell myself that all the time. I don't
Yeah.
know what's around the corner. I think it's just like almost embracing that part of you that's like, just do it for the plot. Like, let me just get story out of it and know that I can trust myself to get to the next step, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. I actually interviewed Amelia Sordell. Do you know Amelia Sordell?
Rings the
She's
bell.
she's massive on LinkedIn. She owned the personal branding studio. It's a multi-million pound personal branding studio called Clout.
Clout.
Clout. I'll show you her picture. You probably recognize her face. So this was issue. Let me turn my background off so you can see. But actually, I don't know how to. Yeah, basically, I interviewed her here. You recognize her?
Yes.
Yes. So Amelia actually gave me some great advice. She said that there's no bad choices, there's no failures. What you get is either a good outcome or a good story.
Yes.
And I love that. I've been like living by that mantra since she told me. And I love that. Like, it's not a failure. It's not like if something goes wrong, it might not be a good outcome, but it'll be a good story to tell, which is what my life
Oh,
basically is.
yeah, I love that, Kierian. Like, I think that's such great advice. I do genuinely think we hold on to outcomes so tightly that actually it
Mm.
prevents us having the best experiences and the best fun. And some of your biggest mistakes are the best teachers, right? of
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
we want going forward. And so I absolutely love that. And thank you for sharing a little snippet of the magazine. So if you're watching this on video as opposed to just listening to the audio, you'd have got a sneaky peek at the newspaper, which is lovely. So tell us, it's a monthly.
Yes, yeah, it's a monthly newspaper. It's actually a whole experience that you wouldn't expect from a newspaper. It comes wrapped in tissue paper, sealed with a wax stamp, and then you have to break open the wax stamp, and then you'll smell the newspaper. It has its own brand cult scent that I had made specially for the newspaper. So it's actually a whole experience when it arrives. I had a few people panic the first time they got their first issue because it comes in a black envelope and they were
Ooh.
like, oh my God, I thought I was getting taken to court when it came through the door. But then so many readers have said that they feel it's really nice and special to receive something other than a bill. And
Yes.
um, and in taking that intentional time off, which is what I really wanted for Brand Cult, is you're on your screen all day long. You might take a break for dinner, and then some of us are logging back on to read Substacks and LinkedIn's and stuff. And now they have something that they can sit on their couch with a coffee and intentionally read. And it's small snippets, different stories from other UK founders who've been through the grind and yeah, just sharing their ups and downs. We've got comic strip, we've got financial columns, we've even got brand cults horoscopes where you can figure out what your brand horoscope is. So when did you start your company? Do you know the date?
Oh my gosh. I rebranded to Amelie Coaching in January. This will be the third year. And then before, so I can't remember when I would have been actually, it would have been a January as well, because I started my first
January.
business just after Christmas. So yeah,
Do you know if
January.
it was the start or the end of January?
Let's say the start.
Okay, so that makes it Capricorn. I have the latest issue here of Brand Cult. It's the Cult of AI issue. It's all about AI. But this is your horoscope for this month. It says Saturn leaving Pisces on February 13th finally releases the fog from your vision. You've been building infrastructure while half asleep. Now clarity returns. Implement AI tools methodically. Your superpower is patient system building, not flashy tech adoption. The Aquarius eclipse brings unexpected funding opportunities, but only if your automation actually works. Less
Oh.
theory, more testing. Build it right, even if it takes longer.
How interesting. How interesting. Thank you, Kierian. So I'm rebranding the business behind the scenes right now. So I'm like, oh, bit interesting.
So you need to look into your automations, make sure your flows are set up so it's easy, it can scale
Yes.
when you're not there, it can still run without you. Your automations and your workflows, that's what your horoscope's
Do you know
telling you
what's
to do.
so funny about that is that is not something that I'm good at. Like I have built it so many times. You know, like I've this is my sixth or seventh year, right, running a business. So I've done it all. I've been around the block. I know how to do it. I think I'm just at the stage where I just don't want to.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like I don't want to do it. Like so yeah, that's my horoscope. So I'm gonna have
yes,
to take the horoscope's advice and make sure that
yes,
all of the systems and automations are done instead of procrastinating on them. Yes, I will do
that's your
that.
sign. The
I love
sign to
that.
work on the
Yes.
areas of weakness. I also I'd love to offer your listeners a mysterious cult discount if they would like to join the cult. There's an option where you can just get a one-off issue if you just want a little taster, or you can join the cult every month. But it's a mystery though. I'll give you the code. You can share it with them, and yeah, they won't
Yes.
know what it is until they go to check
Until
out.
they open it. I love that. Thank you so much, Kirian. I will link
You're welcome.
the mystery discount below for everyone because
Yes.
I honestly think, and to your point, having something that you can really flick through in your hands and get real information on the
Hmm.
things that are actually important when it comes to your business rather than all of this Instagram hype from business coaches who have not been through your squiggly career and gained that knowledge and that wisdom and that depth and that
Hmm.
ability to also bring in other people and share from a real space of expertise and to have that intentional moments that you're not just skipping through it, you're actually taking a moment to really take that information on and just
Yeah.
consume it differently, I think is so important.
It's kind of like a form of self-care when you take that time out
Yes.
of the day. Like a lot of people do want to just sit down and be more analog. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that this is going to be a trend for 2026, is how analog can your business be? And so lots of brands are incorporating ways to be more analog. That's, for example, community events. Like if you can get
Yes.
together your community in a real life event, that's going analog. It's another example is actually in my design agency, House of Cult Brands. I design bespoke newspapers for other businesses and brands, and they're using it for things like podcasts to showcase the guests that they've had on, send it as a gift to the guests, and send it to a gift as new guests. Or even to event sponsors. So they're using newspapers to promote their business, and it's something that they would then their audience will take away, they'll have it on their desk, they'll look at it, they'll flick through it, they'll share it with someone, and it's way more impactful than just an ad that they've scrolled past, a post that they've scrolled past.
100%. Oh my gosh. Everyone who's listening, you can tell us like what parts of your business you would really love to take analog. And certainly, Kierian is your woman if you are looking to do some in print pieces for your business. And I think similar to you, I really do value having something in my hands. I really do value shaking hands with someone and giving them a hug, right? And at an event. And I think even just beyond business, right? And strategically using that to grow your business this year for
Yeah.
each of us as people and as women, I think being able to take some things offline is actually really good for us.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really refreshing. And that's what we're all craving right now. We're all
Yes.
craving, it's like some weird 2 years after COVID, and we're all still craving that connection and the chance to, like you said, hug someone at an event or have
Yeah.
something physical. And it does correlate into the statistics and data as well, because 78% of my readers are female founders. They appreciate having that time away, digital detoxing, and having that intentionality with their time.
100%. And what a gorgeous thing to do to get your
Mm.
issue of brand cult. Join the cult. We will link all the
Yes.
information below.
The only cult that your mum won't disapprove of as well.
Yes, I love that tagline. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Kian, for being so open with us and sharing all of this. And I think for everyone listening, go and connect with Kierian. She's just, especially on LinkedIn, she's really
Yes.
active over there. And we were discussing some things that she'd shared over there before we jumped on this recording. So go and connect with Kierian, go and find out more about her and what she's doing, not just with her design agency, but with Brand Cult, because I'm very much obsessed.
Thank
And
you.
thank you just so much for being here and sharing with us.
No worries. We look forward to connecting with people. Look forward to seeing how people are going analog and what their thoughts are
Yes.
on pivots in life. And yeah, anything. Happy to have any conversation. Just come find me.
100%. Thank you so much. And I will speak to you all in the next one. Bye.